This is the IOLITE handheld portable vaporizer by Oglesby and Butler. This company is from Ireland, and they actually make both the IOLITE and the newer, slightly more expensive Whisper. I have a review video for the Whisper also that you can check out after this one if you're interested in these. So this unit is sometimes called the walkie-talkie vape because of the way it's shaped, and the retail price from an authorized dealer is $1.99. Now, the IOLITE is a unique vape because of the way that it's powered. It doesn't plug in, it doesn't have a charger, nor does it run on rechargeable batteries like many other portable units do. The energy source for this thing is butane, the same type of butane that you would find in your typical lighter. This vape utilizes a butane-powered heating element and an igniter switch to safely and efficiently heat the chamber to the ideal temperature. What this means is that one of the main benefits of the IOLITE is its non-reliance on electricity to operate. As long as you have a can of butane with you, this vape can be used over and over again. And when it runs out of fluid, it can be refilled in seconds. As far as how long each filling of butane will last, through my own testing, I was able to get about 6 full vape sessions that were between 10 and 15 minutes each. So you're looking at a max operating time of about an hour and a half before it will need to be refilled again. And I've seen varying reports on this from other people, so this is just what I experienced during my testing. Alright, so this is an example of a can of butane I bought at my local convenience store, and a can this size where I live costs $3.50. And I'll show you quickly what you need to do to fill this thing up. So the first thing you'll do is you'll pop off the cap to the butane, and you want to try to hold the IOLITE right side up, and this little valve here is where you're going to put the nozzle from the butane can on. So you're going to try to fit it on like that with the butane can upside down, and then you're going to push down on the can to start the flow of gas. And as soon as you hear or see the gas start to overflow, you know that the chamber is full. And this should only take a few seconds. Alright, and each time you refill the butane, you'll want to just wait a few minutes for it to settle down inside the unit before you try igniting it and starting the vape. So during this time, you can get your herbs ready and packed inside the chamber. Alright, so this is what it looks like inside. Alright, this piece comes off. This top piece here has the mouthpiece and the herb chamber with the little screen down there in the bottom of the chamber. And this bottom chamber here is what heats up, and this is where the herbs fall into when you take your top piece and you put it back on. So what you'll do is you'll loosely pack your herbs inside the top piece here, and you can experiment with filling it with different amounts to see how it performs for you. But generally, you don't want to overpack it too much, so maybe 3/4 of the way full to be safe. And then you'll take the main unit and sort of hold it upside down and slide it right on top of the top piece here, like that. Alright, so once you have your butane filled and your herbs packed inside, now you're ready to turn it on. So with the IOLITE, to turn it on, the first thing you need to do is flip this side switch that has 2 settings, 0 and 1. And this is what turns the flow of gas on and off. So you'll flip the switch to 1, and you'll hear the gas start to flow. And then after waiting a few seconds, you'll push in the igniter switch, which is this button on the bottom here. And you'll actually want to look at this side of the vape when you're doing this, because you'll start to see an orange glow, sort of as an indicator light, right in this area here, when it's successfully ignited. So once you have the flow of gas going, you'll push the igniter, and then you'll see that orange light starts to glow. And this means that it's successfully started and it's now heating up the chamber. Now every once in a while it won't start on the first time that you push this switch, and you might have to wait a few seconds and then do it again. But I've never had to hit the switch more than 2 or 3 times max, so it should only take you a couple tries to get it on. So once the heating element is engaged, it will heat up for approximately 45 seconds until it reaches its operating temperature of 374 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 190 Celsius. So after reaching this temperature, the unit will then cycle off like you see mine did, and then it'll cycle on again like it just did to keep an ambient temperature inside the heating chamber. And it'll keep turning on and off periodically during your session. Now, even though the IOLITE reaches its operating temperature in under a minute, I found that the results are a little better if you wait about 2 minutes or so before you actually start to take draws. Now, one of the things that impressed me was that they picked a good temperature to set this vape at, because after a full session, I found that the herbs come out evenly and thoroughly vaped, and there's no signs of combustion either. 374 also falls right into the ideal range that I always recommend. Alright, so now I'll touch on a few of the things that I'm not too thrilled about with this one. The first thing is that whenever the heater is actively running, and you hear that little hissing sound and the orange light is glowing, you actually will smell a little butane if you're holding the vape close to you. And I'm guessing this is because excess butane, while it's heating up, is expelled out the side here. Now, I never tasted the butane while vaping, which I'm really glad didn't happen, but it's just a little off-putting to actually smell it every time the heater turns on. Now, it's not really a huge deal, but if you're sensitive to these types of things, it might bother you a little bit. The second thing is that hissing sound it makes, which is also not a huge deal, but it could be a minor annoyance if you're watching TV or hanging out in a quiet room and there's no other noise going on. The last thing that I wish was a little bit better with this one is the size and the smoothness of the draws. To get a decent amount of vapor, I found that you need to take a long, slow draw, which normally is fine, but since there's such a short distance between the heating chamber and the mouthpiece, there's little time or space for the vapor to cool down. Now, this also is actually not really a big deal, because most, if not all, portable vaporizers currently on the market have a similar issue, where none of them are really incredibly smooth. And actually, real quick, while I'm talking about the mouthpiece, it actually does come with this little extender piece, so you could use it like this with the shorter mouthpiece, or you could take off the rubber tip, you could insert this extension here, put the rubber tip back in, and then you could use it like that. And, you know, even though it's only a couple inches, I did see a little bit of a difference. It did make the draws, you know, slightly more comfortable. So the only other thing to consider with the IOLITE is that there's no indicator to tell you how much butane you have left. So you'll kind of just have to keep track of how many times you've used it in between fillings. All that happens when it runs out of butane is it'll slowly stop heating up. So the worst case scenario, if it runs out in the middle of you using it, is you'll have to pause for a few minutes and refill the butane before resuming your session. And also, one last thing to note is that when you turn off the IOLITE, which you do by flipping this switch over to 0, like that, is you might actually hear it continue to run for another minute or two. Which is a little weird at first because you think it might be broken. You see how it's actually still heating even though I turned it off? So all it's really doing is getting out the excess gas that's already, you know, in the line. So it tells you right in the manual that it's normal for it to continue running for a couple minutes after you turn it off. So to summarize the IOLITE for you, it's a convenient portable vape that runs on butane instead of batteries, and you can get around 6 nice long sessions out of each gas filling. The fact that you don't need electricity to run this one means that it's perfect for outdoor activities like camping or even long trips. It's also lightweight and easy to carry, and it does come with this cool little carrying case, which most vapes don't come with, and it's actually very convenient. But the only thing you'll have to do, if you do want to use this a lot, is make sure that you keep a can of butane around. And with a can this size, which is about 1.5 ounces, I would estimate being able to fill the IOLITE roughly 10 times with this. Alright, so some of the negatives to keep in mind are that there is that slight butane smell each time the heater is activated. There's that intermittent hissing sound also while the heater is activated. And you need to remember to take long, slow draws to really get good vapor. So I put a link in the description to a great vape store that I think you should definitely check out if you're looking to buy one of these. And they even give you your first can of butane for free to get you started. If you want to see how the IOLITE compares to other portable vapes, including its newer sister model, the Whisper, check out my website, vapecritic.com. So if you have any questions about this one, feel free to ask, and stay up.